Something that I've observed, and this could just be me, but a theory about my own generation is that because we have so many options, so many choices, and we're so informed, right? It's the age of information. So we have all these sources of information, so we want to create the perfect church, or we want to create the perfect ministry and the perfect plan. And I've met it time and again, people who want to start a new worshiping community or are starting one, but they're not doing the things you're describing. They're not rolling up their sleeves. They're not meeting all the people, because on paper, they're trying to plan the perfect thing. And it's frustrating to find the perfect thing, because I don't think there is one. What would you say to somebody like that?
I would say, how can anybody plan the perfect thing when we live in a world that's changing so rapidly? You know? So what was smart marketing 10 years ago would be ridiculous marketing today. People's lives. You know, your generation, most of the job, or the kids in college now, the jobs that they'll be holding for the next 40 years, so many of them haven't even been created yet.
Yeah.
You know, how can you create perfect anything? The beauty of starting a new worshiping community is that you can be nimble, you can be lean, you can be mean, and you can turn on a dime. And so
you can set the tone.
When there's an opportunity, you can respond to it. If you're a giant church with 5 full-time ministers, et cetera, you have incredible resources for incredible ministry. But do you think that church is necessarily nimble in terms of its decision-making?
Probably
or
not.
Responding to opportunities? When you have subcommittees and you have staff people and you have committees and you have task forces and you have elders and sessions and trustees and everything else, everyone else in the decision-making process, you know what? If we have a ministry opportunity, I'm able to follow it. And people vote by how they choose to support it or not.
Yeah.
But we can do things like that, and that's the beautiful thing you have. You can turn on a dime, and you may have to do that, because in the same way that I had to recreate our church from a worshiping community to become a church and change times and names and everything else, you know, you may have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's when you don't change in light of the changes of the community, or the feedback you get, that you're in real trouble. Let's close with this thought. The last thing that I hope you will recognize in anybody who's starting a new worshiping community is that ministry, while incredibly difficult and challenging spiritually, practically, financially, you name it, ministry can also be unbelievably fun. And so if I had a single charge for you or for anybody else who's watching this, it would be to design a ministry that meets people's needs, but also meets your needs. That's not selfish, and it's not bad. It's smart.
In a life-giving way. No.
Absolutely. You know, I've heard 2 statistics. One is that 14 out of 15 ministers who begin in the ministry don't retire as ministers. Also heard 2 weeks ago that 19 out of 20 ministers never end up retiring as ministers because they leave. There's a problem. If that's the case with ministers, there's a problem when between 2010 and 2012, over 50% of the churches in the United States didn't take in a single new member. There are so many challenges right now, and one of the reasons is because the ministry can be such a drag. Well, guess what? You have the opportunity to design a ministry that's not a drag, that can meet people's needs, but also speaks to you. You're a percussionist. Have drum circles. You know, you're an artist. Seek out the creative people and meet their spiritual needs. You know, there's so many different ways to do it. Find ways to have fun. It's like the aquatic experience ministry I started in Indianapolis. I had a passion for windsurfing, you know, so I got certified as an instructor and taught groups of people in their 20s and 30s to windsurf. It was one of the most successful programs I've ever been involved in my life. And it was a blast. It was a blast. Think about when you're most alive. And think about that. how that calling fits with your ministry. And not only will you be filled with joy, but you'll be serving and meeting important needs too.